Welcome back to another episode of Epiq Living. Our guest today is Raed Zidan. He is the founder of an amazing network of radio stations here in the UAE, Coast, Hat, and Hala. He's also the founder and owner at Zidan Management Group, which manages 5,000 units in the US. More importantly, he's also the father of three lovely children. His eldest daughter, Lidya, is a weightlifting US national champion. He's got two other children who are studying here in Dubai as well. He's also got a very interesting and I would say very powerful accolade. He's the first Palestinian to climb Mount Everest and has scaled, in fact, all the 7 summits. And so I prefer calling him the adventure entrepreneur as opposed to just the self-made entrepreneur, which he is, of course. He's also got an experience on site going to Burning Man and Tomorrowland, and we'll talk about that later. And I guess very excited to have him here. I met him a few weeks ago here in Dubai, and I said, well, I need someone like him on our show, who has something to his business, his life, which is not the same you find of people who are here in Dubai, who have built just a business, and that's what their life is about. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Raed to the show. Raed, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So when we met a few weeks ago, I learned about your life story. And so in our first segment in the show, we talk about epic journeys. So I'd love to understand, I think there are a few pivotal moments in your life. You had this moment when you were growing up, and then you were in Kuwait at one point in time, and then something happened. And then that shifted life in a very dramatic sense. And then you moved somewhere else, and then something happened. So it's been a pivotal shift in many sense. I want to begin at the time you feel was probably the most important first pivotal moment in your early part of your life. And maybe that's great. Maybe there's something else. I love to be educated myself, I guess.
Yeah, I would say, life is full of moments, but definitely life-changing was when I graduated from high school back in 1990, and that same summer, Iraq rolled into Kuwait. I was born and raised in Kuwait, and I graduated from high school in Kuwait. And as I mentioned, that summer a war started, and that was life-changing for sure. Me and my whole family had to leave the country and start a new life somewhere else.
And so you moved, I think there was a moment you moved from Kuwait, and I remember you saying that you left in, of course, as many people did at that time, in sort of rapid sort of mode to, and you went to, was it Romania, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes. Well, I stayed in Jordan for a bit, and then I went to Romania, and I lived in Romania for 3 years.
And that's where you had your education for that early part?
No.
That was your entrepreneurial career?
Yeah, this was, trying to make money there. Obviously, when we left, the family left, we lost everything in Kuwait, so there wasn't money, for us to go to school or anything like that. So the focus was to make money. So I started a bunch of businesses in Romania, all related to imports and exports. And I was there for 3 years, three amazing years.
How old were you at that time? This was like very...
I think 18, between 18 and 21.
Okay.
I was in Romania. It was
so real like tries with fire, right? In that sense, I mean, what was the experience like in Romania? I think Romania also was at that stage when it was like that.
Just was coming out of communism.
Exactly.
I mean, just a year and a half earlier, they killed Ceausescu. They tried him and shot him somewhere, and so the whole country was coming out of communism, and it was very interesting. It was really interesting to see that shift also. They had nothing and they needed everything, and that's the reason I got
there. And then you moved from there to the US.
To the US,
right.
1994.
1994. And what was the trigger for that shift? I mean, you could have gone anywhere in the world, I guess, but what was the trigger there at that time?
I really wanted to go to Canada, not the US.
Wrong flight.
No, but my brother was there. You know how it is. You always follow family.
Okay, family, all right.
Yeah, so my older brother, who was in Austria while I was in Romania, went to the US, and still the family was pushing for me to finish education. So I was looking for a few universities, and one of the universities I always looked into was Notre Dame University. And so I went toward that. I was unable to get accepted there, so I ended up going to another university, and that's how my life started in the U.S.
And what did you study at university at that time?
I had a major in political science. and economics. And but again, I didn't finish school because I was growing my business, at the time. So I started getting involved in different businesses while I was in the U.S. And by by 97, I was really, really busy with different businesses. I started a communication company that grew to be the second largest communication company in the Midwest and the largest independent communication company in the Midwest, actually. So at the time.
So did you, again, I mean, it's always this, debate of nurture versus nature, right? I mean, did you always want to do something yourself, right from an early age, like even before you were at high school, like from an entrepreneurship perspective?
I mean, I would have to say, part of it is how you're raised. To be honest, my father was that way. So I think, this is something I looked at. And definitely, you end up with in a position or in a place where it might make sense for you to do. You are more encouraged to go into business. And being in the U.S., made a lot of sense, to kind of try to start something, do something. I don't know. Yeah, I think I always had it.
but I mean, is it like also when you say building that company in the world of telecom?
Yeah.
Again, was that an area? Was it like linked to the specific engineering perspective, or you studied political science?
No.
For
I just
example?
I just saw an opportunity.
Okay.
None of the businesses I was ever involved in were related to anything that I experienced before, studied before, or No, you see an opportunity and you go after it. Yeah.
So, transition. Jordan, sort of Kuwait, moving to Romania.
Yeah. U.S.
U.S. And then Mount Everest shows up somewhere. How did that happen?
No, I mean, Mount Everest didn't really show up. I mean, throughout that process, I was always focused on still enjoying life, and experiencing different things. So I was doing all kind of different parachuting, white river rafting, bungee jumping, racing around, and I started learning how to fly and got my pilot license. So I was always looking for that thing that is exciting outside of just focusing on work, because I truly believe that, working hard and not enjoying the fruits of that work is just, waste of time, energy, and I don't know, brains.
So again, what was which year did you get to Mount Everest?
2013. May 22nd, 2013, I summited Mount Everest. But before that, of course, that was the climax to many different mountains that I climbed. But I started getting into mountaineering maybe in 2008.
Okay.
I started really taking it seriously. I was focusing on two different items. I was focusing on driving around in different continents and climbing mountains. I started getting bored of all the other sports that I was doing.
Okay.
I was looking for the next exciting thing, and I would say more maybe importantly than climbing was traveling for me.
Okay.
So climbing and traveling kind of went hand in hand, and I started focusing more and more on climbing.
So it's interesting, right? I mean, I think when you say the driving part, that's easy. You get into a car and you drive, like you just switch on the engine and boom.
Yeah.
Whichever car. Mountain, you can't just say switch on and start walking up. It needs prep and all the sort of, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like anything else in life. I mean, just like studying, you're not gonna go to 4 years of school right away. You start with, I don't know, economics 101, right? Same with driving, you're not gonna get in a race car and start driving, manual. You have to learn it. So yeah, I gradually started with hiking, camping, and then going into smaller mountain. I trekked to Everest Base Camp, a 12-day trek, which was an amazing experience. I advise every person to do it. It's just a beautiful experience. And then, smaller mountains that do not require climbing experience, or handling, ice axes or crampons or ascenders, or any of those, things you use in climbing. So I did Mount Kilimanjaro. And then, I started doing more technical mountains like, Mount Blanc or Mount Elbrus or Mount Vincent in Antarctica, because there is more ice involved, more snow involved, and, you needed to learn certain things like self-arrest and self-rescue and, different things like that. So yeah, it's a gradual.
It's a build-up.
Yeah, it is a build-up, and I don't think even Mount Everest was, in my mind, to be honest with you. I just wanted to experience climbing, and of course, as you climb higher and higher mountains, then it becomes a target.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, a documentary was done.
Yes.
On the climb, right?
Yes.
And was that like when you did that, and I guess produced and everything else? What was the experience again from you from a reflection perspective? Like, you get there and then of course you come back. How long is the climb, by the way?
Everest 60 days, 63 days, all and yeah, in and out was 63 days.
Up and down.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're disconnected from the world in many ways.
Completely almost disconnected. I mean, we had a satellite phone with us, but we didn't use it pretty often because of battery, it's hard to charge things on the mountain. But I mean, again, it's just like in business, right? You're always going after that next bigger thing, right? You want to expand, you want to, add more to your business. And similarly, with Mount Everest, I mean, we climbed Kilimanjaro, we climbed Elbrus, we climbed Mount Vincent, which all of those mountains that I'm mentioning are part of the 7 summits list, which is the highest mountain on each continent. But with regard to the documentary itself, at the time when we decided to climb Mount Everest, it was a unique group of people because I was, it was 4 Arabic people who never reached the summit of Mount Everest, and they were representing their countries. So if I summited, I would have been at the time the first Palestinian man to summit Mount Everest. So the documentary
was connected with that.
To follow that team that we called Arabs with altitude at the time.
Was there, I guess again there'll be many moments as we said earlier, but was there any time in that 60-day journey, or 30-day going up? Is it like the same going up, coming down? How do you kind of track it?
No. It's mostly going up.
So
coming down is like a week.
A slide.
Yeah, yeah.
So for the, let's say, 40 to 50 days going up, was there any time that you felt, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, every day, every hour, I would say.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
In what sense? Was it like the physicality of it? Was it like the mental side of it?
It's a miserable experience. It's very hard on you. It's very hard on you mentally, physically. I mean, I lost 34 pounds in those 60 days. You eat bad food. You go on for 2 months without a shower. It's, I think for the whole 60 days, the temperature did not drop below -40. So you're cold the whole time. So, and of course, you're physically active. You're climbing a mountain, and you don't climb it once. I mean, you climb Everest a bunch of times, right? Because you start your trek from Lukla to base camp, and then from base camp you go to Camp 1 and come down, and then you go to Camp 1, 2 and come down. Then you go to Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3 and come down. So you really climb that, and Camp 3 is at 7,400 meters. Okay. So it's not like, you're going. So, yeah, and of course there's crevasses in the process, and there's a lot of dangerous areas, and each climb takes multiple days. I mean, going to Camp 3 takes almost a week of hard climbing, and you're looking at sometimes 16-hour days of climbing. So yeah, the whole time you're telling yourself, what did I get myself into, and why you're doing this? And especially, when you see also, you do see people that die in the process, or people who are dead, who died from previous years. And of course, they're still there. So you look at that and you say, I could be like one of those people, and is it worth it? And I'm leaving my family behind, I'm leaving my friends, I'm not in touch with my business. So yeah, of course, all of those doubts are in your mind.
What did you tell your family before you got into the climb? For Mount Everest?
Well, I told them I'll call them from there. I'll call them from the summit.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, and I did call from the summit.
Nice.
Yeah, I
And
did.
how did it, I mean, again, as you said, as with any accomplishment, you strive to get to that next level. How did this experience relate to the business accomplishment? Like, you built something very successful with that business that became the largest one in the Midwest, as you said. How did that feeling of having got there to the peak, so to say, in both senses, feel? Would you relate it in an equal sense, or would you feel there was a different feeling in your mind when you kind of did that, whether it was the Everest climb or the one that you did after that, that I believe was even more difficult?
Yeah, Mount Denali. I mean, listen, all challenges are equal. Really, at the time, when whether you are climbing a mountain or learning how to drive, it's something you don't know how to do and you're trying to accomplish. Starting a new business, it's all similar challenges, and I think if you have the mindset, that whether it's a business, whether it's climbing a mountain or any other experience, that feeling is not an option. Then you don't look at it as, oh, this is hard, or oh, there was a chance I wouldn't have been able to accomplish this. No, you just look at it as another challenge that you will be able to nail down, accomplish, and move on from it. So I really don't put things, because again, at the time when you are dealing with something, whether it's a business, whether it's a climb, again, whether it's learning, I remember literally how I learned how to drive manual. At the time, it's equal difficulty, right?
Just driving and
yeah,
struggling to get there.
Exactly. I wouldn't say now. Of course, down the road you might say, "Oh, this was much harder than this," but really, at the time, it's
hard when you're in there.
It's hard,
Now, shifting to another aspect of your life, Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's been a passion of yours. You're a regular visitor. I mean, I know that you're a man of multiple sort of hats in that sense, but what was that passion driven by?
Again, traveling is a big thing for me. Music is another thing. I love music, and that's the reason maybe behind the radio stations. And Tomorrowland is one of the largest festivals on earth, and I call it Disneyland for adults. I mean, it's for me at my age, it's a place where I feel I can still go out there and listen to amazing music and be with my friends and enjoy my time. I really like it.
If you were to flip it back,
Yeah.
You've accomplished a lot. By the way, we are in a great studio here in one of Raed's studios, because I thought we'd take the opportunity to be in an actual studio with Raed here. So, actual studio here in Dubai Media City. And now, if you were to look at those experiences and talk to your younger self now,
Yes.
what would you be telling this younger self?
Definitely travel more.
Even more?
Yeah, even more. I mean, I've been to about 130 countries so far, but I would say I wish, of course, the opportunity wasn't there, to be honest with you. But also, I feel that that's an excuse. You can always find a way to accomplish something that you want to accomplish. But I wish if I started traveling at even a younger age. Although, I mean,
You were pretty young when you started traveling. I mean,
yeah, but again, I mean, I was in Romania and I was focused a lot on work. Although in the process, when I was there, I did go to different places. But no, I'm saying in general, there was a period of about in my 30s where I didn't travel as much, and I could have, but I was so focused on the business at the time, which is a good thing. But again, I really think it's a mistake to make one thing more important than other things. You want to balance your life between your family, your work, your hobbies, things you would like to accomplish, because they all complement each other.
I recall you were saying that you came to Dubai to retire.
Yes.
In 2014, was it? Or
No, 2006, 2007. Yeah, because I wanted to retire at the age of 35. So I was just turned 35.
And I guess that did not work the plan.
No. It's. I'll tell you, anybody who thinks at retiring, at a young age is just, it's not gonna work. You're still, again, if you're a successful person, you have that thing in you, that will not allow you to settle down. You're constantly looking for the next challenge, for the next business, for the next adventure.
Now, you've done many investments.
Yeah.
You still invest, whether it's property, otherwise. If I was to ask you to say, what's been the most profitable $100 investment you've made in your life? Not the $1 million, the $1 billion, but the $100, because we're talking about, not worrying about just business, but different experiences. So you must have had an experience, which is a $100 experience, let's call it that, which has been very powerful for you and has left a mark.
I think the one I invested maybe in my wife. Marrying my wife, I think, was one of the, one of the most successful investments. She's an amazing woman and she's an amazing mom. So, and of course, she's the type of person that also allowed me to go after my, crazy adventures, and of course that takes away from the family, and she had to invest that time. But in terms of business, really, real estate. I am huge, obviously, I'm biased in that opinion, just because I own a real estate company. But I think in general, I was never disappointed in investing in real estate.
And when you look at the portfolio of things that you do, because you're doing a bunch of things, does real estate still excite you? Is it something that kind of you feel is your sort of, stability piece and your sort of sense of, well, here's what allows me to do everything else I wanted to get done? Because people, when they think real estate, it's like at some level, it's like, oh, it's the same old, same old.
Yeah. I mean, at the beginning, the deal itself, yes, it still excites me. When we're about to buy a new property or we're about to start a new development. But then, once it settles in, I never go and visit because it's just another building, another apartment and so on. But that's why I add other pieces, on a personal level that excites me in life, be it climbing, like I said, racing or rallying around or, traveling or any of the things, I just parachuted over the palm last month, So I'm constantly, and I have, and I'll tell you something, and this is something my father, well, all of our families, tell us. They say, stay away from bad friends, or hang around good friends, and we have all kind of metaphors and sayings. If you hang out with the guy, I don't know, with a welder, you get black smoke on you, and if you hang out, with the guy who sells colognes and perfumes, you're gonna smell good, right? I think one of the things is, hanging out around people with similar mentality. Really makes a big difference, because there is certain times when you doubt yourself, and then you find those crazy friends who say, nah, we should definitely do Mount Everest. You complement
well, you're the
each other.
average, as they say, of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right?
Exactly.
As they say. So
exactly. So I really think this is extremely important in terms of on a business level, on a hobby level, or sport level, or friendship level. The people you hang out with also kind of push you in certain direction, as you do. You push them in a certain direction.
It works both ways.
Yes.
We've had a great talk about your journey so far, many aspects of it. So, extremely excited to learn what you're doing under the hood, the Epiq hacks you use, if I can call it. And let me begin, because, from our perspective at Epiq 360, we talk about, different elements like sleep, there is nutrition, there is fitness, there is the mindset, there's mindfulness, and there's the environment.
Yeah.
So in your set of the way you operate, what's the most important thing that you hold on to that allows you to kind of keep progressing regardless of what you're, and it's like your number one go-to to ensure that you're always in that prime state?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the most important thing, I keep a list of things that I want to do. And I update that list, on a regular basis. So my bucket list,
okay.
you want to call it. But really, I have a list. I wouldn't, not necessarily a bucket list, because I write everything that I want to accomplish. I mean, if I'm the type of person that just write things down. Oh, I need to fix this in the house. I need to go and visit this person. I feel writing stuff down and looking at it is just it puts you in the habit of writing it down and then crossing it off, accomplishing it. So no matter how small it is or big it is, once you get into that habit, then it really it will bother you if it's still there and there's no line crossing it.
And
So
is this a journal of sorts that you keep, or is it like a?
no, it's just lists, and I get rid of them in the end. I just throw them away, because so Everest was on it, completing the 7 summits was on it, skiing to the South Pole was on it, bungee jumping was on it, and certain areas where do I bungee jump? I wanted to bungee jump, from a bridge in Nepal, which I did. Parachuting over the palm was on it, and then there is, I don't know, there's silly things on it that that are funny, and some of it me and my friends again we come up with. One of the funny ones took place in an ice cream shop over here in Business Bay, and it was just arm wrestling a stranger. So we just walked in and we saw this big guy and we said, "You want to arm wrestle?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll arm wrestle." And here we go. We just took it off of the bucket list. So and definitely, countries that I want to go to or unique places that I wanna go to. So, but I mean, when you talk about a hack, for me, writing down.
Writing is important.
It's really, really important. And then the second item is staying in a good shape. So fitness is beyond important, because I'll tell you something. If you are not healthy, you're not going to enjoy the experience, I mean, I know I went to Kilimanjaro 3 times or 4 times. And we had people with us that were in amazing shape. We had people with us that were halfway, and some people were in a bad shape, They weren't
after the climb or before the climb?
Before the climb.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, all of them made it to the summit. The healthy ones, the half and half, and the the non-fit guys. But the guys who were fit enjoyed it the most. This is a fact. While the guys, weren't fit, they didn't enjoy it. It was a struggle for them. It was a constant struggle, and they hated it, And I don't think they would go for something like that again, which is a shame, because there's places, in Peru, in Chile, in Argentina, in Asia, be it in Nepal, in India, and Pakistan, it's just amazing places, and you're gonna miss out on all of those places just because you had that bad experience. The reason you had that bad experience because you weren't fit. So for me, gym, I go to the gym 5 days a week, and it's very important for me. So really, those 2 aspects are extremely important.
And so that's kind of looking at there's a physical aspect, both of them in a sense, right?
Yeah.
From a mental perspective, when things are either working or not working,
Yeah.
what's happening in your mind? I mean, like, how do you kind of prime your mind, mindset-wise? Because again, if the mind's not being direct, the body, it can work both ways, I guess, right? If your body's not in good shape, your mind's going to feel crappy, as we said. But if your mind's not helping, then the body will not push along as well.
Yeah.
Especially in those tough moments. So I'm curious to understand, what language do you use, you like people to self-talk? Are you kind of having something in your mind, or that you kind of use in your sort of toolbox, that enables you to kind of stay committed, focused, despite whatever's coming your way? It's like, this is the avalanche, doesn't matter. This is a hurricane, doesn't matter. This is this, like, you just deal with it, whether it's in the personal sense or a professional sense.
Now, I recently got into meditation, and it's something I didn't believe in, and I really believe in it now. I mean, I really, really believe in it. There was, on a personal level, a few situations that I used breathing meditation. It helped me significantly, like in a shocking way.
Okay.
Which tells you, you can really never stop learning, honestly. And listen, for business people, and in our situations, we are extremely on a hobby level. Oh, okay, I summited Mount Everest. I completed the 7 summits. I've been to so many different countries. I have friends from all over the world, and you kind of get to the point where you say, oh, okay, I know everything. I can argue any argument. I can go into any discussion, and then you know, you run into something like meditation, and it opens your eyes on a completely different world that you weren't even aware of, you know. My point out of this is you really can never ever stop learning. I recently started going to Harvard to finish my executive MBA there. And again, you know, I thought, okay, I'm a successful business person, you know, what are they going to teach me in Harvard? And wow, it was really, you know, an eye-opening experience, which maybe brings me to the third hack, you know. So I talked about the list, and I talked about
Fitness.
the fitness part, learning. And what I mean by learning, any way of learning. I don't care what it is. Watch a documentary on Netflix. For me, I try to read as many books as possible. So when you're talking about this is the state of mind, even on the mountain, when I'm extremely stressed, I just open a book and I start reading. So reading kind of put you inside, because I imagine when I'm reading something, I see it in my head, you know, and excuse me. I'll tell you something that is, for me, was extremely unique. I read one time a book, I think it was called The Kite Runner. And it was by an Afghani writer who wrote another book, I think, called Thousand Splendid Suns, you know. But, so the whole time when I was reading The Kite Runner, I was imagining, you know, the neighborhoods, the buildings, you know, the people, and so on in that book. And, you know, that's it. You are in that book, you know. You're out of the world you are in, and your brain is inside that book. And then about 2 years later, they made it into a movie. And I went and I watched the movie. And it was really enjoyable to see how you are imagining things in your head.
And what they put out there.
And it was very close.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was really, really close. So the third item is reading. Or I don't want to say reading. To continue to educate yourself. Again, you know, it could be reading. It could be going to watching TED Talks, those 20-minute TED Talks, which they are mind-blowing, to be honest with you. Watching a documentary on Netflix, or, you know, going to different conferences or different seminars. But I never went to something like that, a 10-minute seminar, you know, in a conference somewhere, and I didn't learn something new. So for me, those are the three items.
You know, you read a lot, as you said. What book probably in that sense has left an indelible mark? Something that kind of keeps coming back in different ways.
God, I read on Mount Denali. I can't remember the book, but I remember what was in the book. And the book was written about what makes a successful person a successful person.
Okay.
And it digs into it, you know, and it goes through successful people from the 1800s all the way, you know, to the people like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you know, Warren Buffett, and so on and so on. And of course, it touches on different experiences in terms of people that have high IQ, and how the IQ exam was invented and who invented that. And actually, there was an experiment that the book talks about they called it termites, you know, and it's following about 240 people in California that had a huge IQ, you know, score, above 160 or 170. And following those people, they thought at the time, okay, those are the people that in the next 20 years will rule the world. And one person out of the 240 was successful. And the other ones, although they had, again, IQs above 170, ended up with regular jobs. I mean, one person was the maintenance guy in a school, you know. And so it kind of, because the writer obviously was trying to prove a point, but it's not about how smart you are, you know. There is many different factors that plays into you being successful. And one of the factors is being lucky, you know, being at the right place at the right time, you know. I mean, he mentions, for example, Bill Gates. He was at the right place at the right time. And look at Steve Jobs. They were all people that went to school, born in a certain time between 1950 1955. You know, by the time they reach high school, the internet kind of started going out there, the computers started going out there, and they happened to be in schools that had computers, which there was just like 3 schools in all of the United States that had computers, and students had access to those computers. So there is a luck factor into that. But this book really left, I'll remember the name and I'll, I'll let you know.
Well, I
about
mean,
it.
so building from that, if I was to give you, when you talk about doing crazy things, so let's say I give you a massive billboard
Yeah.
to put a tagline on,
Yeah.
which would represent a message you put out to the world
Yeah.
in terms of, guys, do this, or a hack, or whatever the sort of strategy is. What would that tagline say? Whether it's on in the Dubai highway, on the US motorways, etc.
You know, I mean, here we are very lucky, right, in Dubai or in the United Arab Emirates in general, because it's such, and I'll use the expression from the head of marketing in Emirates Airline. It's not because, you know, when New York they say, or in the US in general, they say it's a melting pot, right? All different nationalities, all different cultures, all different religions come in, and they melt in that pot of, the United States of America. The guy over here told me, no, in the UAE we're not a melting pot. We're a salad bowl, you know, because each culture, each religion, each nationality keep their identity, right? You're not, in the US, you're expected to lose your identity and melt, and become part of that society, become Americanized. Over here, no, you get to keep, if you are Pakistani, you stay Pakistani, and there is Pakistani restaurants, and there is celebrations. Similarly, if you are Indian, if you are South American, and so on and so on and so on. I mean, look how many holidays we have over here. It's just crazy. So you really get to keep your identity. And where I'm going with this is, for me, traveling. Traveling just opens your mind. And we are very lucky over here because we really don't have to travel and still meet amazing people from different cultures, from different religions, from different nationalities that can give us that perspective that you cannot have on your own if you are living in a place.
In an isolated area.
And, you just simply can't. So traveling really is one of the big things, and that's, I push my daughter just went to university last year, and since then I think she already traveled about 11 times, including to Canada, to Switzerland, and some people, by the way, and some people say, yeah, but it's really hard or it's expensive, right? But traveling has never been easier
Or cheaper.
than today, right? I mean, at the time, just 60, 70 years ago, I mean, I don't even have to go 60, 70 years ago.
10 years ago.
Exactly. I mean, to travel to the US, we had to stop in Shannon, Ireland, and KLM.
Absolutely.
Be in the airport, for 12, 14 hours, and then, go to a different city and then drive. Now, traveling is so easy, and it is affordable. If you put it on a list, and if you plan it ahead of time, you can find some amazing deals. You can use the points, from you shopping in a grocery store.
You can organize yourself.
Yeah,
basically.
and then you have the Airbnbs now, which make traveling really, really cheap.
It should not be an excuse, as you said, to do that.
Yeah, you don't have to say, the airline ticket is so expensive, and where I'm going to stay in a hotel. Now, I mean, I run into a lot of people, especially when we are trekking on the mountains, who crash on someone's couch, because it's not about where you're going to sleep, it's where you're going to discover, where you're going to go. So traveling really, for me, is extremely important.
Okay. Now, you spoke of Bill Gates earlier in a sense of timing. Now, if you were given a crazy amount of money, let's pick $1 billion for the sake of discussion, buy a foundation and say, do what you can with this that would change the world, except spending it on yourself.
Yeah.
What would you do with that money?
I mean, listen, all of the climbs that I did, without exception, were for charity. And we were able to raise some serious money. And when we did Everest, we raised over $1 million for building schools in Nepal. When we took a team of kids from over here to Kilimanjaro, they raised about $800,000, for Gaza. So climbing, doing fun things, including climbing, is nice, but if there is purpose behind it, it's even much more satisfying, to be honest with you. So, I mean, Bill Gates and of course the Melinda and the Bill Gates Foundation is just an amazing foundation, and they're going after some serious diseases in Africa, and they're trying to eliminate those diseases. For me, it goes back to education, because really, if you look back, well, at least this is my personal opinion, I see a lot of the problems we have today in the world is simply, lack of education or ignorance. And this is the nice thing, again, going back to traveling. Traveling exposes you,
Opens up your mind.
Yeah, it really opens up your mind and it educates you and will allow you to see different perspective, from how other people see it. So for me, education, I would say. I would really put it in education.
Final thing on the hacks, I'd love to know, what's your morning routine? When you wake up to the time you're here in the office, what do you do to kind of make sure that you are ready for the day? Except when you may be traveling or whatever, that's the normal Raed morning, if there is one.
It really, yeah. I don't say I have a routine. I mean, there's certain things. I don't have breakfast, for example.
Okay, that's part of a routine.
Yeah.
No breakfast.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too big on breakfast, and I wake up. I drink. The first thing I do is I drink a cup of tea, and then I have my vitamins. So fish oil. Now, some people think this stuff works, some people don't. I do it anyway. Fish oil, garlic.
I think it works.
Yeah, probiotics, multivitamin.
Okay.
You read different things. Above the age of 45, there's certain things that are important, and yeah, and then I usually go through all my emails. Of course, after I shower, I just sit down and go over quickly through my emails from the U.S. because of time difference when I'm here. And I flag anything that I really need to go back into it in detail. And then I start my work over here, the normal day-to-day work. I try to finish, so typically I wake up around 7 o'clock in the morning, and I try to finish work by 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Because 4:30 is my gym, and I would like to spend about half an hour with the family before I go to the gym, between work and gym. And then in the evenings, typically either I work with the US or I'm with friends. So, really the main thing that I do on a daily basis is going to work and going to the gym.
Going to the gym.
Yeah.
When does the day end? Like in terms of like when you say it's done, and then let's say there's a morning routine.
Yeah.
And there's often a night routine of sorts, right, as well. So is it like a 11 p.m., 12 a.m. time off, and I'm getting 7 hours of sleep or 6 hours?
I am getting more and more. So till recently, I slept just 4 hours. So typically my day or my night ended at around 2 or 3 o'clock at night. Now I try to force myself to sleep more. So I'm usually, last night I went to bed at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up at 7. So I'm trying to sleep 5 to 6, 7 hours. It's very hard for me to sleep 7 hours. It rarely happens because if the sun is out, I wake up, and that's it. And my bedroom doesn't have those all blackout curtains. They have those see-through curtains.
So the light comes in.
Yeah, the light comes in. So which I did it on purpose, So. Yeah, I mean, if you can, from everything I read, they say it's really important that you get 7 or 8 hours. Mentally, I feel like I'm wasting so much time on sleeping.
I think if you speak to people like Ariana Huffington, they'll kind of send you a lecture. Like, there was this interesting debate that happened between Elon Musk and her about the importance of sleep, a Twitter debate. But I think 4 hours. I mean, I've been there. It kind of. Depending on how you keep going, it kind of does take things out of you because it does hit you.
Yeah.
At a health level, especially, right? Whether it's your cardiac capacity and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Uh, I'd like to finish off with a couple of things. First is, if you were going to standing up in the front of a lecture hall, Harvard, your old school, and be asked to teach a Raed class, what would you teach people? It's a 10-minute talk, by the way. It's a 20-minute talk. So it's a TED-style thing, because our audience is a mixture of youth, millennials, working professionals, older people as well, across demographics.
You know, I mean, it's really maybe how tolerance and understanding, you know, other people, because I do see, unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of conflicts, and a lot of people hurt in those conflicts, and there is no reason behind it, to be honest with you. So this is something I would really, from traveling, from meeting different, you know, people from different national, from all walks of life, you know, from all kind of different national. Again, I've been to about 130 countries. I've been to all 7 continents. I've been to Antarctica twice, and every person that I ran into throughout my travels, you know, had the same thing that we all have. You know, they wanted to take care of their family, they wanted to be healthy, they wanted to be successful, but so this is really their mindset, but then, you know, when we see things on TV or in the news, wherever, you know, it doesn't reflect that. It, you know, kind of reflect, no, there's crazy people out there who are, you know, after hurting us and so on. So really, tolerance, I would really focus on that. And again, we are so fortunate being in over here in UAE, because if you go to dinner, you will sit down on a table and there'll be maybe 7 different nationalities, 10 people from 7 different nationalities, and those nationalities are kind of mixed. I mean, if you take me as an example, both my parents are Palestinians, but I was born and raised in Kuwait, and I spent most of my life in the US. And my wife is an American. She's Irish American, you know, and my kids were raised over here in the UAE, you know.
So very kind of, I guess, cultural mix in that sense, right?
Yes, yes. So it really, you know, so that we are fortunate over here, because we see that mix, we see those, and we see that those are normal people just like us, you know, and we are just like them, and they aspire to the same things, they dream about the same things, you know, they look forward to the same things, they laugh about the same stupid jokes, you know, and things upset them just like things upset us. So there is no difference. So this is why we really need, you know, more tolerance in this world.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the final piece I want to end our show with is to have you set a challenge. Because again, at the end of the day, this show is not about just educating and inspiring. It's also inspiring them to take action.
Yes.
So if you were to set a challenge to the viewers, to those who are watching this show, that guys, I want you to do this for the next 7 days or 21 days or 30 days. Do this and see your life change in a positive sense. What would that challenge be?
I mean, apart, because I do not consider going to the gym a challenge, right? You have to do it.
It could be a challenge for some people, so maybe that's like the entry level challenge.
Yeah, I mean, at minimum, listen, if you go to the gym in 1 week, 5 days in a row, you will notice a change in your life. You will notice it physically, and you will notice it mentally, right? There is something about going to the gym. I mean, it's proven science. It releases certain, you know, chemicals in your brain that makes you happy. Endorphins. It really does.
Yes.
Yeah. So this, but write 10 items on a list, you know, and try to accomplish those items. Write an item that you say, okay, I want to do this item this week. I want to do this item before the end of the summer, and I want to finish those 8 items before the end of the year.
Okay.
And for them to be, I don't want to say challenging, just outside of your comfort zone. You know, don't put a challenge. Okay, I'm gonna drive, you know, to Five Guys and buy a hamburger. You know, no, but it could be, I don't know, go fishing. It's something different than what you do on a daily basis. You know, we have some amazing trekking areas over here in UAE toward Hatta, and those areas are just beautiful. And it could be something, I mean, we have that zip line in Ras Al Khaimah. Try that, try something that you're not used to and see if it gives you that enjoyment where you say, oh shoot, I've been really missing out, I should have done that long time ago. And now you're thinking, okay, maybe I should try something else that will give me the same joy.
It's so right. I was with my coach a few weeks ago, and he said that as we are younger, we do many firsts in life.
Yes.
The first time, we learn how to ride a bike. The first time we learn how to write, read. And as we get older, the number of firsts decline.
Yes.
So he said, I want to challenge all of us in that group that we were in, that how many firsts will you set to do this year?
Yes.
And I think to your point as well, like, you have not done hiking, try it. You've not done this, try it. Like, at least push yourself a bit.
Yes, something just out of your comfort zone, You can drive to Hatta, but leave the car and hike for 3-4 hours. I promise you will enjoy it, And once you get that enjoyment, you say, oh, something, I need to try different things, because I really got some amazing enjoyment out of it. I was in Rio one time, and I did the gliding, and it was one of the most peaceful, most enjoyable things I ever did in my life. And it's truly, when they talk about people flying, this is flying. You feel like a bird, it's just amazing, peaceful experience.
You go with the wind and the air.
Yes. So yeah, something different. And there is so many, again, we are so fortunate being here,
True.
But we are so fortunate being in this time today and in this world today compared to, things are much easier, things are much more accessible. And, you can find things on Google.
Online very quickly.
Yeah.
What's your next challenge that you've set yourself, the one that you are going to publicly commit to? I'm going to call you back and say, have you done it?
Which is scaring me.
Which is scary. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I'm actually skiing to the North Pole April 1st. So
Okay.
I fly to Oslo on March 31st, and then we start our ski to the North Pole April 1st. And it should last for about 18 days. So this is my next challenge. And I did the South Pole, and I know how difficult it is. So, and I was much younger at the time. So now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, how hard this is going to be.
A mental game as well,
Yeah.
not just physical.
Yeah.
But I wish you well. I've loved having you on the show. I've really enjoyed it and learned from it. Actually, a lot of personal gems for me as well. So thank you for the time. And, if there is, I guess the best way to put it is that the next time you conquer, whether it's the North Pole, I'd love to bring you back, let's say a year later, and understand what's shifted in terms of your learning. I'm sure you'll be climbing even more crazy things and doing some more, funny things like you said. But it's been a delight having you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
very
me.
much. Thank you very much.